Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And definitely I want to thank you for being on this journey, for investing in yourself, for growing and expanding and having the courage to step out and be who you can be, to be able to better ourselves, to be able to see those places in our life that need the extra attention, that need the extra energy. Good for you for being here. Good for you for taking the investment, the step, the time. I'm so pleased to be able to come alongside you. Thank you for allowing me to do that. Thank you for investing in this podcast. If it's helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the podcasting on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. Share them. Put them out there for others. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you are if you do that. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, and you haven't followed us already, follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you'll get a new episode, a notification when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I'd love to hear from you, GraceLifeCoaching.com. So we've been on this journey to talk about rest. And today I want to talk about the daily rhythms of renewal. Building a life that doesn't require escaping. When we think about the word vacation, the root word of vacation is vacate. And so we go on vacation to vacate our lives. And I want to shift into looking at the practical nature of this rest. Most of us don't need one incredible vacation every year. We don't. We need better Tuesdays. We need better Mondays. We need healthier Thursdays and calmer Fridays. We need ordinary days that don't leave us completely exhausted. Think about that. Many people spend 50 weeks draining themselves so they can enjoy 2 weeks of vacation. And not that I'm opposed to vacation. Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do that myself. But then they return home and immediately begin counting the days until their next escape. What if your goal wasn't simply to take a break from your life? What if your goal was to create a life that didn't constantly need an escape? That's what I'm talking about today. Building rhythms. Building rhythms, not dramatic changes, not overnight transformations, simple, intentional habits that create a life of steady renewal. Isn't that what we're all desiring and longing for? Because the healthiest lives are rarely built on big moments. They're built on small habits practiced consistently over a long period of time. Whether we realize it or not, every one of us already lives by rhythms. You probably wake up at roughly the same time every day. Drink coffee, brush your teeth, drive to work the same route, eat lunch around the same hour, watch television before, in the evening, scroll your phone before you go to bed. Habits shape our lives far more than occasional decisions. We need those habits because it helps us with decision fatigue. It helps us from having to make too many decisions. The question isn't whether you have routines. The question is whether your routines are helping you or hurting you. And many of us don't take a moment to examine our routines. We just live into them. We just do them. That's just how it is. That's just how we work. So we don't take the time to examine our routines, our rhythms. But we need to, all right? We need to. Because the question has to be asked, are our routines helping us or hurting us? Many of our current rhythms were never intentionally chosen. They weren't. They simply develop. They develop over time. They develop over practice. They develop over action. We answer emails before getting out of bed. We eat while we're working. We check social media during every spare moment. We stay awake later than we intend to. Then we wonder why we're tired. Healthy living isn't accidental. Healthy lives are designed. They're intentional. Not perfect, but intentional. So how do you begin your day? That matters. How the day begins, the rhythm of your morning is really, really super important. Let's start there. Let's start with mornings. Many of us begin our day in reaction mode. The alarm goes off and we grab our phone. We immediately start checking notifications, emails, texts, news, social media. Work begins before we even get out of bed. All right. Think about what that does. Before your feet touch the floor, someone has already determined what you're thinking about, what you're intended to focus on. Someone else has already commanded your time. So imagine beginning the day differently. Wake up, take 3 slow breaths, stretch, drink a glass of water. Maybe step outside if the weather is appropriate for 2 minutes. Notice the morning air. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up today? When we go immediately to reaction, when we immediately go to work or social media, then we're showing up in a reactive mode. Okay. How do I want to show up today? Do I want to show up by reacting? Do I want to show up by letting everything else draw my energy? Or do I want to show up differently? There is a difference when we start asking that question. One approach begins with reaction. This is what I'm reacting to. My day now is set into reaction. The other approach begins with intention. You don't need a 90-minute morning routine, though there's nothing wrong with a 90-minute morning routine. You simply need a few minutes to belong to you before the rest of the world begins making demands. You need a few minutes that are yours to know why you're alive, to be able to center yourself and be alive before the rest of the world starts demanding time and energy from you. Another thing is to build rest into your day. You know, many make the mistake that they save rest to the end of the day. I'll rest at the end of the day. You know, all the rhythm is done. Everything is taken care of. Now I can sit down. But here's the thing. By then, they're already depleted. All right? They're already depleted. You know, they haven't stopped at all. I mean, imagine driving across the country without ever stopping to put fuel in your tank. Your tank would be empty. That's how many people live their lives. They live their lives by going and going and going and going and going. And then when the day is over, they collapse. Well, how about maybe thinking about building rest into the day? Imagine instead building recovery into the journey. All right? 5 minutes before meetings or 5 minutes between meetings, which is a really great idea. A short walk after lunch or deep breathing before entering your next appointment. Standing up every hour. I mean, we as humans were never built to sit all day. All right. We were built to move. We're machines. Our bodies are like machines. We're built to move. The more we move, the better our machines are going to work. All right. So stand up, walk around, stretch. All right. Look away from your screen for 60 seconds, which again, we're sitting at our desk looking at our screens all day. Look away from your screen for 60 seconds. Step outside. Get out into the fresh air. These aren't interruptions. They may look like interruptions, but they're not meant to be interruptions. They're meant to be investments. They're investments in building intentional rest into the day. Look, professional athletes don't wait until they're injured before they recover. They recover throughout training. Your workday deserves the same wisdom. Little breaks prevent big breakdowns. Being able to stand up for a minute prevents that aching back. Being able to step outside for a minute resets your brain. Okay. These little things, again, they don't have to be huge. They don't have to be overwhelming. Small, consistent over a period of time. And it may not have an effect. You may think, oh yeah, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to stretch for 60 seconds every hour. All right. I'm going to stand up every hour for just to kind of walk around or whatever, or do a couple of marches. It may not have an effect right away, but over time it will. Little breaks prevent big breakdowns. It is a cumulative effect. So you want to build rest into your day. You want to make it a part of a rhythm. It's not an interruption. It's an investment. It's an investment in you. It's an investment in making your day better so your day is better. So build moments of rest into your day. That's really key. It's really important as you continue to craft this new and better and healthier lifestyle and healthier rhythm. One of the things to make sure we protect in this, and we've talked about this before, we talked about attention when we did the social media series, and I've talked about attention a lot, but attention is important. It's the most valuable resource, okay? It's more valuable than our time. It's our attention. You can always make more money, but you can't make more attention. Yet every day, countless companies compete for it. They do. Notifications and advertisements and videos and emails and breaking news and social media. Every beep says, pay attention to me. Every notification interrupts your thinking. And research has found that it can take up to 15 minutes to fully regain focus after an interruption. Okay? Now multiply that by dozens of notifications a day. No wonder we're mentally exhausted. One of the healthiest habits you can develop is protecting your attention. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Check email at a scheduled time instead of consistently. Eat one meal a day without your phone. Drive without always listening to something. Allow your mind to breathe. Allow your attention to be put back on you. Attention is one of your greatest gifts. Spend it wisely and make sure that you cultivate and curate where your attention goes. Don't let everything else grab your attention. Be intentional about your attention. It's one of the greatest things we can do for us. Another thing is create transition rituals. Transition rituals are important. We don't necessarily understand how important they are until we lose them. One of the biggest reasons stress follows us home is because we never transition. We simply change locations, all right? Our bodies arrive home, but our mind stays at work. Our mind stays on those things. Healthy rhythms include intentional transition. Things that say, okay, that is done, this is starting. Maybe it's sitting quietly in your car for 3 minutes before going in the house. Maybe it's coming in and changing your clothes immediately. So your physicalness goes from work clothes to evening clothes. Maybe it's having specific calming music during your drive home. Whatever you choose, whatever transitional moment you choose, it becomes a signal, all right? It's a way to tell your brain, work is finished. Now I'm entering another part of my life. See, without transitions, everything blends together. But with transitions, every part of your life receives your full attention. Every part of your life receives your full moment. So work can have your full moment, and it can work both ways. You know, when you leave the house in the morning, have an intentional transition to work. Okay, I've left the house, now it's time to go to work. And then that transition, okay, I've left work, now it's time to go home. Now it's time to go back to this form, this thing. Have those transitions, build them in, be intentional about them. Be intentional about your transitions. They don't have to be huge. All they need to do is signal your brain that you're moving from one thing to the next. Be intentional about them. And when you get into the evening time, understand that evening is preparation, not just recovery. Many people think bedtime begins when you climb into bed, right? Actually, it doesn't. Bedtime begins hours before that. Think about how your evening looks. Think about what your evening. So the house quiets down, you know, you got bright screens and maybe you're checking that last work email or scrolling social media or watching some intense television show or something of that nature. And then you get up off the couch, lay down in bed, turn the lights out and expect your brain to become sleepy. It doesn't work that way. Our brains appreciate routines. Our brains don't just shut down like that. Have you ever done that where you go to bed, you're exhausted physically, but your brain is just spiraling and moving and working? It's because your brain's on fire. You just fed it all this input, and now you expect it to just quiet down. You have to signal your brain it's time to quiet down and go to sleep. You have to signal it. Create those routines. Create an evening rhythm. All right? If your bedtime is 10 o'clock, I'll just use 10 o'clock. If your bedtime is 10 o'clock, then an hour before, dim the lights. You know, put your phone away. Put it on airplane mode or put it on do not disturb mode so only the most vital things come through. Then do something else. Read a book, write in your journal, reflect on what you're grateful for, stretch, pray, meditate, listen to calming music. Teach your body that rest is approaching. Teach your brain that rest is approaching. Okay? You're not just ending the day, you're preparing for tomorrow, and you're preparing for tomorrow by having a good night's sleep. Because if your alarm goes off at 5 o'clock and you go to bed at 10 and you're awake until midnight, now you're running low on your sleep. And if that happens every night, it really is important to question the rhythm that you have before you go to bed. What are you showing your brain? What are you inputting your brain before you go to bed? We can't expect to scroll through social media, turn our phone off, put it on the nightstand, close our eyes and go to sleep. Because our brain is still processing all of that. Our brain is still processing those image and that input. Our brain is still working even though our body wants to be tired. So creating an evening ritual, an evening rhythm that is telling the body and the brain it's time to go to sleep is really, really super important. Because if we don't do that, then the brain won't shut off. The brain will continue to fire. The brain will continue to process. So creating that evening ritual. That ritual that says, okay, we're winding down, sleep is approaching, rest is approaching. Let's prepare for that in a manner that shows that we're ready for it. Evening rituals and evening rhythms are really, really important. They're just as important as morning rhythms because morning rhythms are intentional versus reactive. But then the evening rhythm is all about, am I approaching and preparing for sleep, or am I just going to be firing my brain even though my body says it's time to go to sleep? Another important aspect of building rest into the rhythm of life is to have a weekly Sabbath or a weekly step aside. You know, when we zoom out from the habits that we've been talking about a little bit, you know, every week should include one period that's different from all the others. A block of time devoted not to productivity, but to restoration. Some traditions call this a Sabbath. Others simply call it a day off or a half a day off. Whatever you call it, the principle remains the same. You are not designed to produce endlessly. Take time to recover, to reconnect, Take time away from that productivity. Maybe it's time to reconnect with family. Maybe spending it outdoors or reading or create something or pray or volunteer, or laugh or nap or whatever it is, whatever you choose to do. Cook slowly, visit friends, enjoy life. Taking a large block of time away from all of that productivity and responsibility just to dwell and be. All right? It's very productive. It's very important. These activities aren't going to, advance your job or monetize you, but they're meaningful. They're productive in a different way. All right? They're productive in a different way. They create meaning. They create space. They create imagination. They create rest. And meaning often creates the deepest rest. When we have meaning and purpose, when we find our tribe, our place, that which we're settled in, then we can enter into that deeper rest. Okay? So creating a time that you can just step away, a good block of time that you can step away from all that productivity and just dwell and be is so super important. Look, here's the deal. This isn't going to happen unless you're intentional. This isn't going to happen unless you design it. It's not going to happen accidentally or by the fate of the universe or by the weight of others. It's going to happen. You will create the life that doesn't need escaping by being intentional. You have to be intentional. If you're not intentional, it's not going to come to you. You have to work it. All right? Imagine two people. The first waits until they're exhausted before resting. The second builds small moments of renewal throughout everyday life. Who do you think has more energy at the end of the year? 5 years, 10 years. Rest isn't simply about daily fatigue. It's about tomorrow's life. All right, and being intentional. The habits you practice today become the life you experience tomorrow. It's true. The habits you build today will become the life you experience tomorrow. So you don't want to ask, how much can I survive? You want to ask, how well do I want to live? Once you ask that question, then you start to build the habits that make that better. You start to build the habits that make that stronger. You build that daily, intentionally. It is an intention. Habits are built unintentionally. Usually those unintentional habits are not good for us. Intentional habits are good for us. All right? So switching your question, how much can I survive, to how well do I want to live? Who do I want to become? That is the question you're building through this. All right? So here's my challenge for you. Here's what I'd like you to do. All right? I'd like you to really kind of look at some questions. What part of your day feels the most rushed? Where do you feel the most chaotic and rushed and out of balance? What habits drain your energy without giving anything back? We all have them. We all have those habits that just drain us without giving anything back. What small practice could you add to your morning? What would help you transition from work to home? What evening habits would help you sleep more peacefully? Remember, don't try to change everything. Don't try to change everything. Don't take all of them. Oh my God, all of these things are terrible and out of balance and I need to change them all. Well, maybe you do, but don't try to change them all at one time. One thing. Choose one rhythm. One thing that could use some investment. Lean into it a little bit. Add a little bit of extra energy to it. It doesn't have to be huge. Just add a little extra energy. And most of the time, it's something that you really, other than just a habitual investment, you don't really need to add extra more time to. If your morning ritual is to open up your phone before you get out of bed and start checking email, if you change that rhythm, you just get out of bed. You don't have to open your phone. You don't have to deal with it. Intentional versus reactive. Choose one rhythm. Choose one of those things, one of those questions, and build on it. Build on it. Healthy lives are built one habit at a time. One habit at a time. Not massive habit changes, but one habit at a time. One habit's going to lead to another, which is going to lead to another, which is going to lead to another. So choose one thing. Choose one challenge and give it just a few minutes. Who can't spare 2 minutes in a day to step out on the back porch or the back patio and look at the sky? Who can't choose to stick their phone in their pocket versus open it up while they're drinking their coffee? We can do that. Choose one rhythm, only one, and invest a little bit of time in it. Just a few minutes. Just a little bit of a shift. That little shift over a long period of time will have massive effect, okay? So have that one thing and give it that one moment to see how that rhythm will change you. Be intentional. Design the life that you want to live and design it with one small habit at a time. That's where it begins. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope this is helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, follow us, give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you'll get notifications when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. You can get a hold of me through there. Because at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.